Very warm welcome to you, Mr. Rozenberg. Thank you for your time on Sky News. First of all, your reaction to this preliminary ruling, were you expecting it?
I don't think that anybody wanted to stick their neck out, but it's important to understand that this is only a preliminary skirmish in this case. What the judge said is that sections of the legal arguments which he had struck out did not go to the heart of the case. In other words, they didn't relate to that letter you just referred to, the letter the Duchess sent to her father in August 2018.
Yes, I mean, it is just the first step, isn't it? And do you think they're right about that? Do you think that what she was trying to claim there was not central to the core of her case?
That's certainly the judge's view, and that was the view of the newspapers. What this was about was the legal arguments which are put in writing before a case comes to court. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. You have to set out the arguments on each side so that the defendant knows what it has to deal with, in this case the newspaper, and the claimant has to put her case, the Duchess has to put her case clearly. And Associated Newspapers objected to three aspects of the Duchess's case. The allegation that the newspaper acted dishonestly, the allegation that it had deliberately dug up or stirred up conflict between the Duchess and her father, and the allegation that it had an agenda of publishing intrusive or offensive stories about her. And what the judge said, agreeing with the newspaper, was that these categories should be struck out from the arguments. They won't be part of the full hearing when that takes place. I suppose it probably won't be till next year.
So what we're left with then is really the core of the case, which is really over privacy. I'm interested in your view. I mean, did she have a reasonable expectation to privacy around that letter? I mean, I've read in your article, it gets complicated by the fact that she apparently had put up friends to talk to another celebrity publication and to make reference to that letter.
That's exactly what the Mail on Sunday is saying. They say that the existence of the letter was put into the public domain by an article in an American celebrity magazine which quoted from friends of the Duchess. Now, she has said, no, she didn't ask her friends to talk to this publication after all. That's obviously what's going to be disputed. The defence say that the letter wasn't private or confidential, and they say that it's in the public interest that it should be made clear. After all, she was certainly at the time a working member of the royal family. She's supported by public funds, and the public needed to know this. Her lawyers say that this letter is quite obviously confidential. It's a private letter to her father, and that it really deals with her private life, and the sole purpose of publishing it was to satisfy a curiosity among the newspaper's readers about her private life. Publishing it wasn't in the public interest. Now, those are the core issues, and those will still be. It's obviously a setback for the Duchess that she's lost. The Associated Newspapers are seeking £50,000 costs for the hearing last week, and she'll have to pay her own costs. But the main point of the case goes on, and she does have the opportunity to put her case in a bit more detail if she chooses to, but the more these preliminary skirmishes go on, the more the costs of the case go up.
Yes, indeed, and it comes back, doesn't it, to that old Gordian knot, the legal Gordian knot about, weighing up the right to privacy with, of course, freedom of expression, and that's really an area where law is very much still developing, isn't it? So this could be a very seminal case.
I think so. I mean, we go back to the case that Naomi Campbell brought against a newspaper 15 years ago now, more, and that was a case that really set the modern law of privacy, and it's developing since then. I don't think that journalists always quite understand the importance of privacy. It is something that we've really only seen over the past 20 years or so. Journalists are very familiar with libel. You can't tell lies about people. You have to prove what you say about people is true. But privacy is a developing area of the law, and I think this case will contribute to it. There was a case which she, the Duchess, relies on, in which her father-in-law sued the same newspaper after it published extracts from private journals that Prince Charles wrote about his visit to Hong Kong and other places, and the Mail lost that. On the other hand, this may be different. So these issues are still very much to play for, and I think neither side is looking like it's willing to back down.
You're saying there that we're likely to hear the rest of this play out probably next year. Could we see the Duchess in the witness box?
I think we could. I think she will have to go into the witness box and have to be cross-examined. Whether her father will have to give evidence on behalf of the Mail on Sunday is quite another matter. I think they probably would want him to be there so that they can discuss with him the arrangements that they may have made with him or not, whether he agreed to let them have the letter, whether he agreed to let them copy the letter in part or in full. So that's why, the case has been described by some newspapers as Markle against Markle. Now, we don't know if that's going to happen, but it does look as if the Duchess is going to have to go into the witness box. It does look as if she's going to be cross-examined. Whether that's really worthwhile in the sense that it reminds people of something that they might otherwise have forgotten about, well, we'll see. If she wins, maybe she'll feel it was justified. If not, it's really raking up something that, as I say, many people have perhaps put behind them.
OK, really good to get your analysis there. Joshua Rozenberg, thank you very much for your time on Sky News. And you win the bookshelf competition. Very impressive.